Alrighty, welcome to today's aftermarket analysis journal. Getting into it today is May 23rd, 2024. Coming into the AM session, ended up taking one trade. We ended up coming down after the opening bell, tapping into this new day opening gap, where we then had a small little SMT move up, came back down to this 1 minute, respected it, and then ended up inversing the 2 minute in this leg. There was kind of a 3 minute too, but I mean it doesn't matter. It went already so past the fair value gap that it inversed, and the 3 minute was relatively small, so I just took it on the 2 minute. But we ended up getting filled. Now I will say this was a very, as you can see, this was kind of a very risky trade in the sense of stop. Um, yeah, just like where that's a lot to risk, 29 points, I will admit. Um, so I don't know. I can't really say I was very satisfied with the setup. It's just the fact that we ended up taking off so far into the inversing the fair value gap. Like obviously we could have got filled here. That would have been amazing. Risk to reward, but sometimes that happens. So in case scenarios like this, yeah, we did end up coming into drawdown in the next candle, which was a little scary in the instance. But then after that, we ended up coming back up. So once we had that move up, passed up to here, this is where I had moved stop to right here. It was these candle lows, which 18 points still relatively a lot of risk. It's a little under $400 if I'm not mistaken, which is not as terrible though as 29 points. But thankfully we ended up taking out this internal high, where I was able to set my stop to break even. I was thinking of taking profits here just because we were already, in coming down lower in the morning, and then I think yeah, we were in this 15 minute. We were trading within this 15-minute bearish for value gap. So yeah, I thought about it, but just because of how we are on the week, or were on the week, how we were down on the week, I wanted to let it run as if it did come up and tap into this 15-minute that was untapped, then we would have been break even on the week. And yeah, it ended up reversing and we got stopped out at break even. Now I will admit there was a trade today. It's been a long time since I've done something like this, but we came down, ended up having like a V-shaped recovery, which did want to enter here. It just I couldn't really say there was a viable entry, just because there's so many fair value gaps down in this leg that it just on a higher time frame there really wasn't much uh like to inverse. Um, but yeah, I mean, I did see on the 10 minute after later in the day that it kind of was like an accumulation move manipulation. But then if I would have waited for an inverse on the 10 minute, I just don't see me realistically by this point taking this trade. But this would have been where the entry would have been once it inversed here. But then see, like, if I would have entered, gotten about 14 points of drawdown, I don't know if my stop would have been that low or, you know, much lower than that. And then targeting the 15-minute gap, which actually did end up hitting. But yeah, I did try to enter here actually too, but I got out right away. I entered. I didn't see it as a viable entry. Mainly, I think I was just looking at a very small time frame until I looked at bigger time frames and saw how many fair value gaps were in the leg. So I got out for I think it was like literally $30. So I consider break even. But then it was around here, which is funny because it's actually where the 10 minute ended up, around where the 10 minute ended up closing. But I ended up entering here completely on accident. Like I hit the join, I think it's join bid. Um, I ended up hitting the join bid and got filled, and it was like I said, it was like right here, ended up taking off. So I was like, okay, well, I'm obviously not gonna, you know, I think it was like this candle. I was like, I'm obviously not just gonna close it, especially since it took off. So as soon as it like took off, ended up moving stop to break even. It was like, screw it, like let's see, I'm just gonna let it like go, and ended up obviously having a little chop. Almost got stopped out a couple times, and then it started going up, up, up. I ended up trailing, and I think it was because I know I didn't get the full amount, so that's where I'm kind of confused. I think, yeah, I ended up trailing here and then got stopped here. It came all the way down here and then ended up going up. But yeah, so that I really can't say much on that. That's not like a good trade at all. That was just luck. Um, in the sense that you know I didn't even take a loss on that. But yeah, really nothing to that. But then coming into the PM session, so because I've already said like two, you know, not real trades. So technically only one trade in the AM, break even. Second trade, we ended up coming down. I wanted to see a open low high close, but we ended up seeing a open high low close in the sense of 2 p.m. open, which I should have figured. It just, coming into lunch hour, we had such a long way down. But we have been trading near all-time highs. The bias has been relatively bullish the whole time. But now looking at it, it does seem we could start to see some bearish structure forming and rebalancing to discounts and equilibriums of the ranges. This also could be the start of a bigger time frame market maker sell model. But we will see when price reacts, or will react when price gives us those confluences. But anyways, yeah, so I wanted to see that, didn't get that, came a little lower down here. We kept having an SMT, very large time frame SMT. It's this one right here. Eventually ended up breaking, as we'll get into in a sec. But it kept holding and then breaking, and but there was a SMT there the whole time, so that was one confluence. Ended up finally having a leg that we could inverse. Ended up inversing. Break even was at this internal high, and then take profit was at, I believe this was a 5 minute, yeah, 5 minute, which was also a relative equal high. That would have been my take profit. I would have loved to see it come to equal highs, but I just couldn't see it coming to those equal highs. So I said, if anything, I'm just gonna take profits here. Didn't get that. Ended up getting stopped out. I think it was like a $175 loss, so I was still up on the day. And then I ultimately switched my bias real quick just because I knew that we were coming down to these lows. We've been targeting all of these lows. I said, okay, this is a relatively significant low. I also believe that we had a SMT on a smaller scale over here. Yeah, we had a SMT right here. So yeah, ended up coming down, and then we inversed the 3 minute on to the downside. Ended up entering as soon as we did. Wanted a relatively small loss, uh, like small stop that I'm usually comfortable with. Yeah, I believe I almost did end up getting stopped out by a couple ticks. Thankfully we didn't. Ended up, coming back down. Once we got to here, put stops at break even. Then almost ended up getting stopped at break even by a couple points. Didn't get stopped at break even, and then uh, so basically, this line right here, I forget what this is called. Or sorry, not. I don't even know why it's. Oh wait, because I think it's on the 15 minute. That's why. Yeah. So I ended up wanting to watch this because I forgot what this is called, but I know that there's price when it comes into this little range between the volume of the candle and then the actual wick down, that sometimes we're not going to take out that low. And also, hold on, I gotta switch this. And then um so yeah, we ended up tapping into that, and then hold on, I want to make sure I said, yeah, this was my break even point. Then we ended up coming into here, tapped into it, and volume was very, there was a lot of volume. And so when we tapped into it, we immediately like wicked up. Oh yeah, that's where I almost got stopped at break even. Wicked up, came almost to break even, and then came down, and I didn't want to risk that again, especially for only $150 difference when I was already up a decent amount. So I ended up taking my take profit and moving it here. taking off about 8 points, which it did end up coming back and hitting my take profit, but then also a little bit after ended up hitting my original take profit. Um, which I don't know. I would say it was, I guess, a little bit of the sense of breaking rules of not respecting the take profit, but sometimes I don't know. I feel like it was kind of viable because of how much it reacted when we came down and almost got stopped at break even. I wasn't really willing to lose those profits, so to just get out of the trade and secure profits and only lose out on 150 bucks, I was comfortable taking it off there. Um, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But we now that from the two trades today, or I really should say the one trade, but the one accidental and this one today, did end up recouping basically our losses from the week. So we are a little down, almost at break even. If I would have got that 150, I think I would have been just a little bit green on the week. But we still do have tomorrow, and hopefully we can finish up strong and get out of this little bit of red and end the week up green, even if it is, a few $100. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's aftermarket analysis journal.